In recent years, witchcraft has made a big comeback in pop culture, with one phrase in particular echoing throughout spiritual and feminist circles. We are the granddaughters of the witches you could not burn. It's a rallying cry, a symbol of reclaiming power, signaling that the strength of those who were persecuted long ago still lives on in us today. But let me ask you a question. When you hear the word witch, what exactly comes to mind? A green-skinned figure with a black hat? A wicked storybook villain? A woman burned at the stake? And that imagery is exactly why the word witch feels so mysterious and so misunderstood. But here's the thing, what if we've been lying to ourselves? What if the witches we proudly claim to be our ancestors weren't witches at all? And this is the darker truth behind that empowering sentiment, because the fact of the matter is, they never burned witches. They burned women. And the thing of it is, most of these women, they weren't doing anything like casting spells or practicing magic or brewing potions. They were just regular ladies who were living their regular lives. Unfortunately for them, they just also happen to be defying social norms, whether they intended to or not, whether that be through owning their bodies, using their voices, connecting to nature, to other women. And for those seemingly ordinary practices, they were feared. And that is one of the many reasons why I call myself a witch. Hey, hi, hello my loves. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylee. I am your friendly neighborhood feminine embodiment practitioner and your witchy BFF. On this channel, we like to fight the patriarchy by helping women heal their hearts, minds, bodies, spirits through both magical and mundane practices so that you can step into your full power. And today, I want to do that by chatting about something that is deeply personal to my identity, being a witch. For those of you who have been here for a while, you know that this is a subject that I touch on often, but I don't think I've ever really fully explained what it means to me, and more importantly, why I feel it might resonate with you too, even if you have no interest in opening a spell book or practicing with tarot cards. I can already tell that this video is going to be a little bit of a longer one. That's because I have a lot of thoughts on this subject. It's something I'm really passionate about. Because of that, I wrote everything down so I wouldn't lose track. I have ADHD. I have a tendency to lose focus or go off on random little side quests. So if you see me looking down, it's just because I'm trying to keep us on task. With all that said, grab a snack, make sure you're cozy, and let's dive right into it. Well, I guess the best place to start is at the beginning. And like many practicing witches, I grew up feeling like quite the outsider. And I also had a knack for collecting labels throughout my childhood. Things like weird, crybaby, freak, loser. My last name growing up is Layman, so I was called Kaylee Lamo quite a lot, which that one still makes me laugh. I am actually not mad about that one. But there were some names that I did get mad about, especially as I got older. Slut, bipolar, bitch. And just to be clear, I am not a slutty bipolar bitch, okay? I am a slutty, depressed with a little bit of ADHD flair bitch. But here's the thing, it is no accident that so many women, myself included, get stuck with these demeaning and disrespectful labels when we refuse to fit neatly into any of society's little boxes, right? We're told to be kind but not too soft, strong but not too bold, attractive without trying too hard. It's an impossible no-win situation. And when we inevitably slip up, we're branded with words that are meant to diminish, disrespect, discredit, and even vilify us. I think that's the reason why America Ferrera's monologue in the Barbie movie hit so hard. She just laid bare the crushing weight of trying to be everything to everyone all of the time while still being small enough to not rock the boat. And here's the kicker. The struggle is not new. The tightrope of womanhood has been around for centuries. I think the witch trials are a prime example of that. One infamous text that fanned the flames of the burning times was the Malleus Maleficarum, which literally translates to the Hammer of the Witches. Written in the 15th century, it became a manual on how to identify, prosecute, and punish witches. And just to clarify something, when we talk about people who were persecuted for witchcraft, it's not so much that they were punished for casting spells or cursing people or things like that, like practicing witchcraft. More so, they were being persecuted for being in league with the devil and making a pact with the devil. That's what was a punishable offense. And Heinrich Kramer, the author of the Malleus Maleficarum, made the argument that women were more susceptible to witchcraft or being in league with the devil because they were, quote, feebler both in mind and body, and that, quote, for as regards intellect or the understanding of spiritual things, they seem to be of a different nature from men. He then goes on to clarify, but the natural reason is that she is more carnal than a man, as is clear from her many carnal abomination. And it should be noted that there was a defect in the formation of the first woman, since she was formed from a bent rib, that is, a rib of the breast, which is bent as it were in contrary direction to a man. And since through this defect she is an imperfect animal, she always deceives. I mean, he does have a point there. I'm literally never not deceiving. So according to Kramer, because Eve was born from Adam's shitty bent rib, women are by nature weaker, more carnal, and therefore more easily swayed by the devil. In other words, it painted women as inherently flawed and therefore dangerous simply because they are not men. It's deeply misogynistic at its core, as pointed out by the historian Sue Lofstein. I am so sorry for my pronunciation of names. As pointed out by this historian in her work, The Misogyny of Witchcraft, where she states, quote, even the title of the book utilizes the feminine tense, maleficarum, rather than maleficorum. Kramer's theory of witchcraft suggested that the only way to rid the world of the evils of witchcraft was by eliminating those who practiced it, i.e., women. Now, I do think it's important that we take a moment here to recognize the fact that the witch trials were complicated and a lot more nuanced than any YouTube video could ever accurately capture. Gender played a huge role, but so did a lot of other factors such as race, religion, socioeconomic status, culture, just to name a few. At its core, the witch trials were an attack on otherness, much like other historical atrocities. But when the traits that make someone other overlap so closely with the traits of the feminine, things like intuition, connection to nature, following your own sacred sovereignty, it's no wonder that these attacks often morphed into attacks targeted at women. I also think it's important we take a moment to recognize that not all of these witches were women. In fact, in some areas like Scandinavia or Russia, it was actually more common for men to be accused of witchcraft, and that was because of the idea that this candle has thoughts. Anyway, that was based on the idea that men were stronger, more powerful, and therefore more capable of bewitching someone rather than being bewitched themselves, like they were more likely to have access to magic. So, like, even that idea is deeply rooted in misogyny. But with all of that said, of the 30 to 60,000 people estimated to have been killed during the witch trials, 80 to 85% of those people were women. And while the witch trials may seem like a distant memory, their legacy continues to shape our lives today. The reason why I think it's so crucial to discuss the misogyny behind the witch trials and how they were designed to exterminate women is that as long as we continue to view these very real women as witches made up of nothing more than lore and fantasy, we strip away their humanity. And in doing so, we fail to recognize that the patriarchal structures that were designed to dehumanize them and sentence them to death are still very much alive and well today. The fight against misogyny and for women's rights is an ongoing issue, and understanding our history is a crucial part of that struggle. And because of this ongoing struggle, many of us carry the weight of generations of persecution and collective trauma that has been passed down through the centuries. And this particular brand of generational trauma has more recently been referred to as the witch wound. It's a metaphor for the way that society has tried to suppress and control the feminine for as long as we can remember. So we have this witch wound. Now that we've named it, I think it's important to talk about different ways that we can actually address healing it. Feminine embodiment, for me, is about healing the witch wound. It's about reclaiming the parts of ourselves that have been cast aside, demonized, or even shamed. It's also about stepping into our full range, our creativity, our intuition, our emotional depth, our connection to the earth, to our bodies, and to each other. And it's also about recognizing those qualities as strengths rather than weaknesses that put a target on our backs. In short, feminine embodiment is the process of peeling back the layers of conditioning in order to reconnect to your most sovereign, sacred, authentic self. And witchcraft is very much the same. In my practice, it's not just about rituals and spells, it's about finding that deep connection with myself. I shared a little bit earlier in this video that I struggle with ADHD and depression. I also struggle with PMDD, and for those things, I go to therapy. And if you were also somebody who goes to therapy, or you have in the past, you'll know that you tend to get a lot of different tools and practices that are intended to help you take care of yourself, but sometimes, especially when you're first starting out, it can just feel like more shit to do. Like it's just even more things on my to-do list. And especially when I was first getting started, I really struggled with getting the motivation to do them. And if I didn't do them, I struggled with having a lot of guilt and shame surrounding like, okay, now I feel like I'm failing at taking care of myself, which is, obviously not helpful to anybody. So practicing witchcraft was a way that I could instead transform these to-do tasks into something that was a lot more magical and a lot more fun, if I'm being honest. I think a really good example of this is my Calm and Cozy Hot Cocoa. That's a recipe I've shared on the channel. I'll link the video in the description below if you're interested. And to anyone else, it could just be a nice little seasonal drink. But to me, it's a magic potion that I created mindfully with intention to nourish my body and soul, and that helps me with my seasonal affect disorder. It's the same with every part of my practice. When I go for a walk out in nature, it's not just to get exercise, it's so that I can commune with the spirits and energies of the earth. When I'm pulling tarot cards, it's not like pretending to predict the future. Instead, I am intentionally taking time to connect with my intuition, to connect with my inner being, my highest self, and become more self-aware in a way that doesn't feel icky. So that's really what witchcraft means to me. It's not about having supernatural powers. Rather, it's about empowering myself and reconnecting to the parts of myself that feel magical. It's about choosing my own alignment and releasing myself from those external expectations that no longer serve me. I actually remember the exact moment I decided to refer to myself as a witch. A couple of summers ago, my oldest daughter and I became totally obsessed with this song, Witch by Devin Cole. It slaps. I totally recommend it. I'll leave that linked below too. You should go listen to it. But in that song, the word witch is actually an acronym for woman in total control of herself. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, that is all a witch really is, isn't she? I mean, think about the witches that we hear about in stories. If you cross a witch, do you think you're going to be able to just get away with it? No, she's going to get you back. And do you think a witch is worried about what other people think of her? No, she's strong and she's independent and she's capable of taking care of herself. And I think in a lot of ways, that's how many of these very real women were viewed as well. Sometimes seeing a woman in her full power can be a little intimidating. But no matter how messy or wild or weird, I'm so sorry, you can probably hear my kids being their own wild, untamed selves upstairs. But anyway, no matter how messy or wild or weird I may be, I want to claim this title as a way to honor and respect those parts of myself that maybe other people find intimidating, and honestly, that even I find intimidating. Referring to myself as a witch reminds me to show up every single day fully as myself, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's scary, even when I have to do it with a shaky voice and shaky knees, even when nobody else around me gets it or supports it. I am empowering myself just by being me. Okay, now I do want to take a moment to pause here with intention, because we have spoken a lot about witchcraft and being a woman and how those two are linked, but I think it's so crucial that we be crystal clear on this channel and acknowledge the fact that you do not have to be a woman to be a witch, or to practice witchcraft, or to heal your inner witch wound through feminine embodiment. This is a space that is inclusive to all genders and gender identities and expressions, because the essence of witchcraft, this powerful reclamation of the self, belongs to anyone who desires it. So not only are you welcome here, but your presence is deeply wanted, regardless of how you identify. And the tools that I offer on this channel, whether that be for feminine embodiment or for witchcraft, are open to anyone who feels called to reconnect to those parts of themselves that they feel may have been silenced by society. Maybe you've even felt it too, that desire to reconnect with those parts of yourself that feel wild or loud and maybe even a little bit scary. Maybe you've been thinking about starting your own witchcraft or feminine embodiment practice, but you're afraid. You're afraid of being judged, of doing it wrong, of not knowing where to start, or of not fitting in. And here's what I want to tell you. You don't need anyone's permission but your own. Whether you're ready to get barefoot and dance naked under the moonlight, I'm not going to judge you, but don't get arrested, baby, okay? Or if you just want to take a few moments every single day to sit down with intention and reconnect to your body, your feelings, your spirit, it's all valid. It's all part of the same journey. And this holistic approach to feminine embodiment is what informs everything that I do and how I live my life and how I guide others. So my hope with this channel is to provide you with as many tips, tricks, tools, resources, whatever it may be, to help you heal your own inner witch wound, and to remind you that stepping into your fullest expression is not something to be feared. Rather, it is something to be celebrated and encouraged. For me, being a witch is about choosing myself over and over again. And for that reason, this practice means more to me than anything I could ever possibly express in a single video. And it's about connecting to the parts of myself that have always been there. The parts of myself I was told were too much, or too weird, or too loud, or were trying too hard. It's about rejecting what doesn't serve me, finding my own path, and giving myself the freedom to live in alignment with who I really am. So if this video and its message resonated with you and left you feeling like you're ready to step into your own power and start your own feminine embodiment journey, I have a free resource for you. The Root to Rise Foundations of Feminine Embodiment workbook is filled with journaling prompts, rituals, simple practices, and affirmations to help you reconnect with your truest self and begin healing your own witch wound. You can download your free copy at themaidenmother.com/workbook, or I will also leave that linked for you in the description box below. It's starting to get dark, so I want to wrap this up really quickly and say that if you enjoyed this video, I'm assuming you did because you watched all the way to the end, and I don't know why you would hate watch a video. But if you did like this video, please let me know by giving that like button a high five, or clicking it, or whatever cutesy way you want to think of tapping that button. Please give it a like, because that actually really does go a long way in supporting my channel and allowing me to continue to make videos like this. And subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so that you can find even more videos like this one where we share tips, discussions, all kinds of good stuff to help you on your own feminine embodiment journey. And I would also love to hear from you guys in the comments. What questions do you have about starting a feminine embodiment journey? What can I give you that would help support you the best? What questions do you have about witchcraft? Anything goes. Let me know. I'm also considering doing more deep dives, maybe doing a deep dive of the Malleus Maleficarum and how it's kind of shaped misogyny of today, or digging into other kind of feminine tropes like the witch and how we can embody them or learn from them. I don't know. If that's something that's interesting to you, let me know. As always, I love you and appreciate you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video, and until next time, stay magical, my loves. Bye.